This is Joanne from Yarn with Joanne, and I'm just going to do a short video to show you how to crochet these lovely Christmas baubles. This is a pattern on Ravelry by Carmen Heffron, and you can easily find it there. It's a free pattern and it's just my interpretation of it. So what do you need to do these? You need a Christmas bauble, which you can get in any kind of charity shop and you'll be able to recycle them, or that you can get them easily in any of the pound shop type places. Just need a plain one, but it's handy to have the hanger thing on it, and also the colour will maybe shine through a wee bit, so you might want to consider what colour you want. You need some double knitting yarn. That's going to roll away on me, and I'm using these 3 colours here, but you can use as many. You could use a different colour in each row if you want, or as few as you want. You need a 4mm hook, or if you're a bit of a loose crocheter, you might want to go down to 3.5 or 3.75 because you want to keep it quite neat. You will need scissors and a darning needle just to weave in your ends. So how do we start? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to make 2 of these half cups, if you like. And what we do then is we place them on here and we sew them together. So I've done one already, and the trick is not to make it right to the halfway mark. If you can see there is a wee line around the bauble, so about 1/2 to a centimetre away from that, and then whenever you sew it together it kind of tightens it up and keeps it really neat. You can see that bauble does not want to stay. Put it on that side maybe. And it's away. Oh, it's really away. So you can see on the inside of this, you can see on the inside of this that I haven't, darned in all of my ends. The only one you need to be particular about really is your magic circle one in the middle, because you don't want that to come loose. The others can just be tied off and just left kind of short, because you're not going to see those. Those are going to be on the inside. So just to start, the neatest way to start is with that magic loop or magic circle. Okay, magic ring, magic circle, whatever you want to call it. And the way I do that is I make a wee loop there, hold that with my thumb, pop it over the back, just gives it something to grab onto, and then what I'm going to do is put the hook in through there, grab the yarn and bring it through. And then the pattern asks me to do 3 chains, so I'm just going to do that here. 1, 2 and 3. Okay, so now we're ready to continue working into the middle of this circle or ring. You want to make sure that you're working in underneath the 2 strands. The tail is out to your left and you're working in through there. Okay, so I'm going to do, the pattern asked me to do 11 trebles. This 3 chain counts as your first stitch, so that will be 12 stitches all together. So to do a treble, if you remember, you put yarn round first, in through the stitch, grab the yarn, bring it out through the stitch, grab the yarn, bring it through 2, grab the yarn and bring it through 2. So remembering, of course, that I'm using UK terminology. US terminology is different. In US terminology, this would be a double crochet, but in UK it's a treble. So yarn round, in through the stitch, grab the yarn, bring it out through the stitch, grab the yarn, bring it through 2, grab the yarn and bring it through 2. So continuing on round until I have 12 stitches all together, including the 3 chain at the start. And I've completely lost count, so I'm going to have to count them now. So a couple of ways to count. You can either, this is your chain going up here, which is 1, and then counting the V's, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, or you can count each post, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Just shows you're better to count the posts. 12, So just checking that again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 12 stitches all together. And now I'm going to pull my tail and the magic will happen, hopefully. And there it is. Brings it into a nice circle. Now what I want to do is slip stitch to this top. So I'm just going to find the top of that 3 chain. And sometimes an easier way to find that is to look at the first stitch, go up to the top and go to the chain just before that. And again, ideally you want to put the hook through where you've got 2 strands on the outside and 1 strand on the inside. It stops, it prevents you from pulling a bit of a hole on it. So slip stitches yarn round and just slip it through everything. And that's that bit. That's that first round finished. So now you can either fasten this off, or what I tend to do is just leave it because I'm going to carry it up and use it later on. So the next colour we're going to use, I'm using off-white. You can see you don't need very much for these at all. And the easiest way to join it, you can do a standing treble, but I'm not going to use that today. I'm going to do my slip knot like so. Now, when you're joining in another yarn, it's a good idea to join it in a different place if you can, because quite often where the join is it's just a little bumpy. So if you have your joins all together, that's more noticeable. So if you move them around a wee bit, so I'm just going to pick any stitch here, and we're not going to go through the stitch this time. We're going to go through between the posts. Okay, so if you pull that apart there, you can see there's the stitch up there, but we're going to go down and below. So we just join with the slip stitch. So if you grab that slip knot, pull it through, and that's your first chain, 2 and 3. So it's asking us to do 3 chain and then a treble into the same space. So making sure we're going right down in between the posts to do this, the second treble. So that's our first set of 2. It's asking us to do, the pattern is asking us to do 2 trebles in between each of the posts the whole way around, which will give us 24 stitches altogether. So in between the next post, 1 treble and 2 trebles. And just popping that down behind, making sure you don't catch it when you're doing it. That's why sometimes some people might find it easier just to fasten it off. Okay, in between the next posts, 1 and 2, and so on the whole way around. So you can do these in any colours, as I've said before, that you like. I'm using the traditional colours, but some people, if your decor is kind of pink and grey, or you can do them multicoloured, a bit boho. And they're really nice as a present to give someone. My daughter has asked me to make one for a friend in his football colours. So that'll be a nice wee present for him that he'll be able to put in the tree. And that can come back out every year. So this should be flat at this stage. The reason that it's curling a wee bit is that I haven't got that tight in the middle. So you notice that I pull that tight. My circle is flat at this stage. And again, I want to slip stitch into the top of the 3 chain. So 1, 2, 3 in there, making sure I've got 2 on one side and 1 on the other, and just grabbing the yarn and slipping it through everything. And now I'm going to leave another loop for my 3rd round. Okay, so again, just to join the new yarn, making a slip knot, taking it off the hook, and this round 3, is asking us to go in between each of the 2 trebles. Okay, so again, it's in the post, not at the top of the stitch. Okay, so there's a stitch there, and we're going in there. And again, just grabbing that slip knot, pulling it through, and doing 1, 2, 3 chain. and we're ready to go. And it says asking us to do a second treble in the same place. Okay, and the pattern is asking us to do 2 trebles, 2 stitches between each set of 2 on the previous row. So just going across between the next 2 sets, quite easy to see there, making sure you're going down in between the posts and doing 2 trebles and on round. And now you can see that we're starting to curl. That's what we want, because it is a kind of cup shape that we're trying to make for half of the bauble. So just when you're getting to this bit, keeping it out of the way, keep it to the left before you get to it, and then I just tuck it over to the right to keep it out of the way so that I'm not grabbing it accidentally in the back. So just another couple to do. Okay, and now we're the whole way around, and this time I'm going to fasten off. So again, doing a slip stitch into the top of that 3 chain, grabbing the yarn, pulling it, slipping it through everything, and then just to fasten it off, just pulling the yarn through the loop again and pulling tight, and that's how we're getting on. Looks quite pretty, doesn't it? So now the next round is where we're going to do some double crochet and a spike stitch. Sounds a bit complicated, but it's not at all. So we're going back to the off-white or cream yarn. So I'm just going to pop my hook in through that, and then you're just gently pull this until it's just above one of your set of trebles on the previous row. You don't want it to be too tight. Okay, so if you just imagine that as your loop and you've been working round, and you're just going into the second one of these trebles, okay, to start with. So in through there, grab the yarn, bring it out, bring it through 2. So that's our first double crochet done. And now we're going to do a spike stitch. So it is simply the same as, it's another double crochet, but you're spiking down into the row below. So what they're asking us to do is to go through the posts, between these 2 posts on the row below. Okay, so you can see that these are the 2 stitches into round 1, and what I want to do is go between those. So just head towards the bottom, oops, grab the yarn, pull it up gently so that it's up at the same height, grab the yarn and bring it through just to finish off a double crochet, and that's the spike stitch. Now this is an increase row, so we want to do 1 double crochet into each of the top of these with a spike stitch in between. So you might have to poke in behind a wee bit just to get in to do that double crochet. So there's 2 double crochet. Okay, and then we're going to do a spike stitch again. So down in between the posts, grab the yarn, just ease it up so that it's nice and straight, grab the yarn and bring it through those 2. So in through the next 2 double crochet and another spike stitch. So looking down below, you're in between these 2, and you can see the two red sets, and you can see the 2 white trebles just directly below, and you want to go in between those. So if you pull them apart a wee bit like that, you'll see where you're going. Pop the hook in there. Oh, and I put the yarn round first, which was a mistake because it's only a double crochet. Okay, so popping the hook in there, grabbing the yarn, easing it up so that it's the same height, yarn round and through 2, popping in behind there to complete that double crochet. And that one, I'll just show you that one more time. So easing the hook in between the 2 posts, pulling yarn through and easing it up till it's the same height, yarn round and through 2, and then squeeze it in there and just continue it on round. Oops. Till we get right round. Once you get the hang of that spike stitch, it really is just kind of a long double crochet. My hair's in there. So nearly round. So one last double crochet to bring us to the end of the row in there, and then just slip stitching in there and finishing off because we don't need the off-white anymore. Okay, so we're nearly there. If we were to measure this now, I would see we're about there. So basically, depending on how tight or how loose you are, you can, what we're going to do now is enough rows of double crochet. I'm trying to hold on to that so that it doesn't run away on me. Round here, so it might be 2 rows, it might be 1 row, it might be 3 rows, just depends on your tension, just to bring it up so you can join it together. So looking for the green loop, which is in here. There it is. Or joining in with a slip stitch if you've fastened it off, whatever you find easiest. Okay, so again, gently pulling that loop up so that you can just see it above your row of double crochet, and just popping the hook in and starting to double crochet the whole way around. And you should have 36 stitches now. We started off with 12, then we doubled up to 24 with the off-white. We did another exactly the same number in the red, another 24, and then on the last row we increased, and now we have 36. And again, this is UK double crochet and American single crochet. Slip stitching. You go on to another row, just do 1 chain and back in to do a double crochet. Except I went into the wrong one there, do you see? You do 1 chain, make sure you go into the one directly below to do your double crochet. So I know from the other half that I've done that 2 rows brings me about the right amount of what we call negative ease. Means that you just have to stretch it a wee bit when you're sewing it together, and that gives it a really nice, neat finish. And we're nearly there. Okay, so when you're coming back round, just checking where your last stitch should be. So I have 1 stitch there, slipping that through like that. And of course what I shouldn't have done there was snip that off. I should have left enough to sew it right round. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is first of all sew in the center of my magic circle or ring. So you can see where it's coming out there and it's going round. So the way I do it is just take the needle on round a bit like so, pulling it through, and what keeps it in is going over one of your loops. So if you can see, I've come out at that loop and going over that one and back on itself, and it's the action of taking it over that one loop that will keep it secure. Okay, and as I've said before, you don't really need to just trim them a little bit. Don't need to darn these in, just trim them so that they'll pop down in there. This is the one that I should have kept long enough to sew together, but anyway, so I'm going to get a bit of yarn long enough to sew right round the bubble, threading the yarn like so, or the needle like so. And okay, so we've got 2 halves, and what we want to do is start sewing them together. Okay, so if you look at your V's at the top, all right, so I need to sew this in a little bit just to get started, which you wouldn't need to do obviously if you had been sensible enough not to cut the yarn at the end of that last row, but there we go. Okay, so what I want to do is actually make those flush together like that. All right, so the way to do that is just the V on this side, you want to go into one V and out of another like so, out of the next one, then back over to the other side and go in through one V and out of the other. Now you do so. Coming back to, I'm not going to pull it tight until I've done a few of them. So I'm going into this V, the next V, this is the one I came out of here, going into the next one and out of the one beside of it, into the next one, out of the following one. So now I've done about 3 stitches. If you just pull that tight like that, you see that that brings those 2 ends nicely together. So you can just pull it apart a little bit to see where you're at and continue on round. So in through this V, out of this one. In through here and out of this one. Takes away, once you get going with this, it's not too bad. So again, I've done about 3, so you want to pull it together. Okay, tucking in any of your ends as you go. Apologies for my husband coughing and spluttering in the background, but hopefully this video will give you an idea of how to do this when you're at home. So just checking where I've come out of here, which is that one there, and going into the next one and out of the next one. Okay, pulling it tight every few stitches, and you can see it's coming together nicely there. So what you want to do is go about halfway around here, or maybe slightly more, as far around as you can get, with still leaving an opening big enough for the bauble to slip in. Pulling it tight again, and then opening it up so that I can see where I'm at, in and out of there, in and out of there. So let's see where we're at now. Could still do another couple, I think. I managed to. Easier to do the sewing before you put the bauble in, really. Okay, so I'm not going to tighten that up until I pop the bauble. Now I'm going to just pop the bauble in between and tighten that up. Now you can see there's quite a bit that we need to pull together, but that's fine. That's what gives us the nice neat finish to it, and you can see the glittering of the bauble underneath as well. So if you pop the bauble like this, what you want to do really is get round, and I've just broken the hanging bit now. Let's see if I can get that back on again. Yep. Up to the top like that. Okay. So it's to get round it, and then just leave you this wee bit to finish here. So just continuing in the same way. But you might need to do a few extra stitches around just to keep this bit nice and tight. Okay, so I'm coming back over to this side again. And then I'm going to take that over there out of the way. Get in there and out there. Need to keep this round the side. Okay, so you can see that it's closing up. Around the hanging. I'm sure there's a name for that, but I can't think of it at the minute. And then back in there. Now, before you move on, just having a wee look, and I can see could do with another wee stitch in there. So I'm just going to come out there and back in there again. Just to make that a wee bit neater. So that's a wee bit better. And now I can just carry on in and out through the V's as before. Do you get to the end? When you're happy that you're finished, again, taking the yarn now, See, this is what happens. I've got a wee challenge. I'm just going to cut that off because it's just the tail. Being careful not to. I've got caught to split the yarn somewhere there. And now I'm able to just trim that off there. And now we have 2 baubles. This one I did in white, this one in kind of off-white. I think I prefer the off-white. You will notice on this side that I have a bit of a mistake. But sure, that's what makes them unique, isn't it? Anyway, have fun with your baubles. Sorry about the background noise, but hopefully it'll give you an idea of how to do it.